Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining me for my review of Season 1 of the television program Stranger Things, created by Matt Duffer and Ross Duffer, and starring Winona Ryder, Millie Bobby Brown, David Harbour, and many other actors who do a very good job in their roles. So, Stranger Things is interesting. I had heard a lot of good things about the show, knew a little bit about the plot, but not a whole lot, and I have to say I was not disappointed. Stranger Things is a very, very entertaining show with a little bit more dramatic depth than I was expecting, which is only a good thing in my opinion. So, the basic plot of Stranger Things, we are set in a small town in the 1980s. The 80s are very important to this show in some ways. And basically, a boy gets taken, abducted, however you want to say it, by an unknown source, which you find out more about throughout the season, of course. And there's a lot of characters and a lot of subplots that connect throughout the season as well. Stranger Things covers a lot of different ground. It's a mystery show, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and there's even some teenage romance in this show, which was kind of interesting. What's surprising is that for the most part, all the elements uh, really blend pretty well together, including the romance stuff, which really shouldn't have worked in my opinion, but somehow it did, at least for me. So no real complaints on that. Stranger Things is definitely makes it known that it's set in the 80s. It definitely does not apologize for that. If you grew up in the 80s or you're just a fan of 80s culture, you'll probably enjoy this show even a little bit more, although I think anyone can enjoy the show. There are a lot of pop culture references from the 80s in this show, as well as the main theme definitely sounding like a score that would come out of this time period. There's also a lot of 80s songs mixed throughout the soundtrack, and there's also definitely at least one 70s reference in this show. The writers definitely saw the 1974 movie The Conversation. I'll just say that and leave it there. In my opinion, the absolute strongest part of Stranger Things is the acting. The whole cast is amazing. Even these small supporting roles and some of the side characters that maybe weren't fleshed out as well. I thought all of them did a really good job, but Winona Ryder and Millie Bobby Brown, in my opinion, deserve special shout outs. Winona Ryder, an actress I've always really liked a lot, does some of her best work here, in my opinion, and that's saying a lot because she's done a lot of good work. And Millie Bobby Brown is just absolutely incredible in this show. I don't want to give too much away about her character, but wow is all I'll say. She is pretty incredible, in my opinion. As far as the plot goes, it's not necessarily that original, which is one criticism I've heard about the show. But although I do think that's kind of fair, I think the way it's presented is kind of unique. All the different things that this show blends, like the science fiction with the mystery, with the romance. I don't think I've ever seen these plot elements put together like this before, although there are definitely parts of the plot that do feel just slightly contrived. Especially the teenage romance part. So even though they did work. But the main thing about this show, or any show in my opinion, is that you care about the characters, and I did. By the end of the show, I was really invested in what happened to just about each and every central character anyway, which is really good. Another thing I wanted to mention, another positive on the show, is the flashbacks. I've always kind of had mixed feelings about flashbacks. They can work really well if used correctly, but sometimes in shows or films, they're just used to give us exposition, and I feel like it's kind of lazy, but not in this show. The flashbacks blend in really well, and I didn't mind them at all. I actually wouldn't have minded having more of them. So that's definitely a plus. Very good job there. As much as all these things about Stranger Things I like and enjoy and appreciate, I did have a few issues here and there that I feel hold the show back just a little bit. Some of the supporting characters are pretty stereotypical. Like you have the annoying ex-husband character who I don't even really think was needed. I'm not sure why he was there. But, a few characters like that. But the really annoying stereotype here is the parents who have no idea what their kids are up to. I realize in a show like this you have to take some dramatic license, but this was overdone and it got to a point of being completely unbelievable in my opinion in this show. Even though even those roles are acted very well, these characters just become very bad plot devices, in my opinion. It becomes a little silly. Also, another odd thing, I thought the pacing in the middle of the season was a little odd. I thought about the first three episodes were very fast moving and interesting. Then it seems like as we get more exposition about the plot in the middle episodes, the pace does slow down. It doesn't like really kill the show or anything, and the show does pick back up a lot the last 2 episodes. I just thought maybe some of these plot points could have been balanced out a little better through the first part of the season instead of all being bogged down in the middle. But that's just me. Others may find it okay. I just thought, I think a lot of shows have this problem. They start really strong and end really strong. In the middle is kind of just okay. But it wasn't bad or anything. It was still interesting. Basically, though, this show is only 8 episodes, season 1, and they're all under an hour, so this is a pretty quick watch, which is another plus in my opinion. You don't have to invest like tons and tons of hours into this show. So overall, I definitely think Stranger Things has many more pros than cons. It's very enjoyable, and it has some dramatic depth that I was surprised was there. I actually really did care by the end of this show. Another thing I really appreciated is, although there are setups for another season, I believe the show has been renewed for a second season, we also do get a self-contained story, that has a beginning, middle, end for season 1 as well. I always like when a show can have a self-contained story and still set up for future seasons, and I thought that was done in a very satisfactory way here. So like I said, I definitely recommend Stranger Things, and if I had to give it a number rating as a whole, I would give season 1 a 4 out of 5. A few flaws here and there, but overall an excellent show that I think hits its target and does what it sets out to do. Like I said, I think anyone can enjoy this show, but I definitely recommend it even more strongly for fans of 80s sci-fi mystery type television and films. So a 4 out of 5 for Stranger Things. If you'd like, you can leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought of the show. And as always, thank you very much for watching.